What's up guys, this is Beast Motorsport. This is my 2013 E92 M3. Is this the craziest E92 M3 that you've ever seen on YouTube? Probably not, but it's a pretty sick car, and I bet it's up there with one of the craziest M3 builds that you've seen. I've done a lot of videos with this car, but I've never done an extensive walkthrough, kind of going through all the different modifications and talking about them. So that's kind of what we're going to do today. So Jason, what's one thing that you hate about the E92 M3?
Hate. Hate's a strong word. I can't even find anything I dislike about the car, really.
So it's just that good. You just love it.
I love it. It's a thrill every time.
What's your favorite thing about this car?
Probably the exhaust now.
Yeah.
I like it. It's like, usually when you make a car extremely loud, it sounds like shit. And this is one of the few cars that just sounds good through the whole RPM range with the exhaust that you have. It's crazy.
It does sound good, man. People comment all the time about how good this car sounds.
Especially the shift. I mean,
yeah,
it's just crazy.
If you can't be fast, at least be loud.
That's right.
That's my motto. Because then you sound fast, but you're really slow.
There you go.
I sound good while I'm pointing everybody by. I don't have any gears, go away.
That's right.
I did that a lot on Thursday.
How about you, as the owner of the M3? What is your least favorite thing about it?
My least favorite thing about this car, that's a hard question because I love this thing so much.
I mean, there's nothing to really dislike.
And I don't daily drive this, so I feel like if I daily drove it, I could answer that much easier.
Exactly.
But since all I do is track this thing, I mean, obviously my least favorite thing is the transmission because I've destroyed it.
Yeah.
But that's a hard question to answer because I love this thing. It's such a good car for what it is, and the money and the package, and
exactly.
It's so capable. It checks so many boxes. And you can take it to the next level with what I've done. You know, when you strip it out, you start doing all these different things.
Exactly.
It's such a capable car.
And it's been very reliable. You did, you know, the rod bearings and throttle actuators just to prevent any issues. But other than doing that, you haven't had anything you've had to do other than upgrades.
Yeah, it has been really reliable. I tracked it pretty consistently and pretty hard for about 2 years. Never had an issue whatsoever. And then I finally started having some transmission issues. But a lot of people say it's because I'm just too strong and too muscular.
That's right.
So this manual transmission just doesn't work for me.
Mashing it into gears.
So that's why we're having to go to the sequential. Bap, 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 bap. So these are the Core 4 Motorsport Pressin Studs, the 12mm option. I don't know what the length is. But basically I did these because I had seen enough of the screw-in stud failures on track. I've had a few buddies that have sheared those off on track, and then honestly Core 4 posted a video on Instagram of all these different cars that had sheared a stud and lost a wheel and hit the wall. Very good marketing technique because it scared the shit out of me and made me want to buy their kit for these Pressin studs so that they don't fail. So I love this stud kit. It's super beefy. It makes it really easy to change the wheels. I never have to worry about snapping or shearing a stud off. I did the front and the rear. Install process for the Core 4 Pressin stud kit on the front is super easy. They just ship you the studs already pressed into the new hub. You bolt it on and you're good to go. The rear is a little bit more challenging. You have to change the bearing. So something to keep in mind if you're going to do these. But this is an awesome kit. I love them. It looks super race car, and then it's just strong as heck. This thing is stout. I'm not going to snap a stud ever. Things are also so beefy that the recommended lug nut torque on these is 120 foot-pounds. So I think the stock on the E92 M3 is right around 100 foot-pounds, but these things are so beefy that they want you to torque them down to 120. So this carbon fill panel to delete the sunroof is from World. Unfortunately, I don't think World makes these anymore. At least that's what I've heard from one of my buddies who was trying to get the same fill panel from them. This has been on the car for about 3 years. When I first installed it, it was watertight, so it was watertight for about the first year. It's no longer watertight. I probably could remove it and reinstall it and get it watertight. It doesn't really bother me that much. The only thing that is annoying is when I wash the car, or if it rains on track, you do get a little bit of moisture and a little bit of water that will come down. It kind of runs this way and then comes right down in front. So if I wash the car and I go to the track the next day, the first lap out, the first time that I hit the brakes, immediately I get a bunch of water that just runs down. It's kind of like a waterfall. So, you know, that's kind of funny. That does happen every single time. But this thing is sweet. The fit and finish on this is beautiful. Beamer World did a really nice job. You can see kind of how nice and glossy and smooth it is. The weight savings on this, when you remove the stock sunroof, I want to say was about 31 pounds. I do have an Instagram post from probably like a year ago where I detailed all the weights versus the stock weights versus all the modifications that I did, and kind of detailed all the different weight savings. So I'll try to link that in the description so you can see that, because a lot of people are curious about what things weigh. So I tried to be pretty diligent about weighing all the stock parts when I took them out, and then weighing the aftermarket parts that I was putting in when I was trying to save the weight. Just as a reference for people and a reference for myself. But pretty much everything on this car, you know, if you're curious about what the stock part weighs, hit me up, ask me in the comments. But I did weigh most of the stock parts that came out of this car. So something to keep in mind. It's good information to have. So you'll notice really the only thing that this car is missing is the carbon fiber roof. I do have the carbon fiber fill panel here to save the majority of the weight. After the research that I did, I think, like, let's say I removed the stock roof here and I actually did a carbon fiber roof install, I think there's only about 5 to 7 pounds of total weight savings that I could get from doing that. So it's just not worth the hassle and the time and the money to do that. So I don't know. I'm not sure if I would ever do a carbon fiber roof on this car. Maybe at some point if I do a full weld-in cage and, you know, the cage builder wants to pull the roof off to be able to do all those welds, then I might consider doing a carbon fiber roof at that point. But right now I'm happy with the fill panel. I saved the weight off the top of the car, but I wish I had a carbon fiber roof. That's the one thing that this car was missing when I bought it. So here we've got the polycarbonate rear quarter windows from Plastics for Performance. These are fully vented, so if you come in a little bit closer, people ask me this all the time, if these vents allow water into the car. Yes and no. They're shaped in such a way that basically rainwater, or, you know, if you're washing the car, water runs right down in between these channels right here. So you can see how this little piece of plastic kind of jets up a little bit, and then the way that this is angled forces water to just run right down in between these channels here. So, you know, if I'm washing the car, I just don't sit here and spray in the vents. If it's pouring down rain on track, yeah, you'll get a little bit of water in there, but nothing too crazy. The install process on these is pretty challenging. The fitment is good, but you have to press this rear corner into the car to get it, you know, flush and sitting like this. So you can imagine you've got all your adhesive, you got all your Sikaflex around the outside, and then you have to press this in and you have to hold this this corner in while it cures over the course of like a couple days. So, you know, when I installed these, I'd never done it before. So the way that I did it is I installed them. I took an adjustable shower rod. I took my couch in my garage and I flipped my couch up here, and I took the adjustable shower rod and shoved it in between the couch and the window here, and adjusted it, put tension on here, and it sat there like that for a couple days. And then on the other side, I actually parked the car right along the wall, and I used the wall and took an adjustable shower rod and shoved it in there to create tension on these windows. So the install process on these is a little challenging. They're also very fragile. There's no hard coating on these, so these scratch really easily compared to the rear one. So I also have the Plastics for Performance polycarbonate window to replace the rear glass, and we'll look at that in a sec. And that's hard coated, so that thing doesn't scratch very much. But you'll notice, you know, there's some scratching and stuff here, so it is something to be aware of. You do have to be careful with these. But I want to say between both sides, you're looking at probably 12, 13, maybe 14 pounds saved for the set of the polycarbonate quarter windows versus the stock rear glass. So not a huge amount, but again, you know, this car is 3,000 pounds. Like the only way that you get to 3,000 pounds is by doing some of these really finer details and some of these extra things. So that's what I did. Vinyl livery here. My buddy Kyle at Union Speed Lab did this livery for me. So this is kind of my own style and design and color, and I bring this style and design across all of my cars. And so he also did the livery on my my Polaris RZR Trail S side by side, just to kind of keep everything uniform and looking good. But he did this for me. I think it came out awesome. I love it. 206 is the number that I run. I just really like that number. So 206 is what I run, and this yellow pretty closely matches the yellow in the on the cage. So we tried to match that as close as possible, but I think it looks really good. He also did the end plate here in the Beast Motorsport, which I think looks super cool. So he did a really good job on all this.
Each one's unique. This one faces this direction and the other one faces the other direction. And then I have this special Beast Motorsport! It's gonna be awesome, stick around! We got minis, we got M3s, it's fucking awesome! How's that?
It's vinyl for me. So this is a Plastics for Performance polycarbonate rear window to replace the stock rear window. If I remember, I think the weight savings on this is probably about 20 pounds. So just replacing the rear stock glass with this polycarbonate panel here, you're looking at about 20 pounds. The install process on this was much easier than the quarter windows. The fitment is awesome. I basically took this to a like a car window shop, and they just dropped this right in. It took them like 30 minutes. The install was really, really, really easy. I did the quarter windows myself because they were much more involved. You have to figure out a way to get this trim and everything back in here. So that is not something that the glass shop wanted to do, and so I installed these myself. But the install on this rear glass piece, super easy. Plastics for Performance is probably one of the best companies that you can go with when you're trying to get polycarbonate windows. It seems like most of the cars that I see over in Germany that are running polycarbonate windows, Plastics for Performance is just super well known and a really good company. Shipping is pretty fast on them. I think once I ordered them, I got them in about 2 weeks, which is pretty good when you're getting anything from Germany. So this rear wing I got from MS Motorsport on Instagram. MS Motorsport, he supplies a lot of different kind of cool carbon fiber parts and pieces for the E92 M3, so he's a good resource to have on Instagram. But this is the GT4 carbon fiber wing. This is the large version, so you have a choice between the kind of smaller, shorter version and the larger version. Of course, I went for the bigger wing, more downforce, looks cooler. I'm not a huge fan of kind of the small wings that sit right above the trunk. So this is the GT4 wing. This little piece of carbon fiber here is from, I want to say it's AJ Hartman Aero. I think that's the company. But, you know, this supposedly provides a little bit more aerodynamic benefit and a little bit more downforce. So that's something that I did there. If you take a look at these end plates, I custom made these myself. So basically I modeled this after a GT2 RS Club Sport. So I saw a picture of a GT2 RS Club Sport on Instagram. I have a friend who is a graphics designer, so I hit her up, I showed her the picture of the wing and the end plate, and I said, hey, can you make me some type of template to match that end plate on this GT2 RS Club Sport? So she made me a template. I got a nice thick sheet of carbon fiber. It's glossy carbon fiber on the front and the back. And I cut that out, and so I made my own custom end plates here, and I love them. I think they look really, really, really good. They certainly look a lot better than the end plates that came with the wing to begin with. But they just look sick, and I just love the way that GT2 RS Club Sport looked. You know, maybe one day, right? You got to have big dreams. So these end plates are awesome. So these are the tall wing risers from MS Motorsport as well. So these wing risers raise the wing up a little bit higher than the shorter ones that it comes with. So, you know, this isn't the biggest wing in the world. At some point in the future, I will be running a bigger wing. That would kind of be the next step for the car in the future, is just more aero, bigger wing, chassis mounted front splitter, possibly some diffuser here. But for now, this wing is great. The car feels super stable at high speeds. So I know that there is definitely some aerodynamic benefit that I'm getting from this wing. So this badge right here is a custom badge that, again, Kyle at Union Speed Lab made for me. You know, Kyle does a lot of really cool custom work. Super smart guy. He's a designer. He makes all of his own parts. He can pretty much design anything that you want, and he can manufacture it and produce it. Look closely. This is his shop, Union Speed Lab, USL. So I'm running this badge on my car, you know, helping to support him. He's going to help me in the future take this car to the next level. So he did some custom badges with his shop name on them. So those are super cool, and the paint matches the cage on this as well. If you look at the side markers on the fenders too, same thing. He did some custom USL little badges here to delete the you know, little M3 badges right there. So that's Union Speed Lab. Kyle's awesome. I'm excited to work with him in the future when we really kind of push the limits of this car. These vents in the rear bumper here. A long time ago, I saw a picture on Instagram from Mumbre Motorsport. He's pretty well known for doing these rear cutouts in the rear bumper on the E92 M3 over there in Germany. So I hit him up and I said, hey man, how can I do this myself? How can I cut these little vents? They look super cool. I think they're functional. So he told me that the idea behind these vents is to help cool the differential. It also provides a little bit of aerodynamic benefit because you're releasing the high pressure that's created behind the rear bumper here. So it kind of helps vent everything in the rear. So I hit him up. He gave me the dimensions of all of these cutouts. And I went to my friend who's a graphics designer, and I gave her the dimensions, and I said, hey, can you make me a template so I can cut these holes in my rear bumper? So she gave me that. So that's how I did these holes here. I still have that template. So if anybody's local and for some reason they really wanted to be able to do all of these vents here, I have that template. You know, I could do it for you. Just hit me up. These holes on the side here, there's no template for these, so basically I had to freehand draw these ones on the side and cut those. So they came out really well, but there was no template that he could provide me for these, so you kind of have to freehand draw them. Same thing, to fill all these holes, I use that black aluminum mesh with Sikaflex. So obviously you got to pull the rear bumper off, you got to cut everything, and then you need to lay the rear mesh on, and you need to Sikaflex everything on there. But they came out really well. I love how it looks. It's a commitment, you know, you're cutting your rear bumper up, but it looks sick. I'm sure it's providing some sort of benefit. But yeah, so I love these vents. So this rear diffuser is a RKP race style diffuser, and I got this from IND Distribution. It's non-functional, it's not doing anything, but it looks awesome. I love it. I got another one and put it on my wife's E93 as well, just because I love how it looks so much. As you can see here, that's the titanium exhaust. My buddy Nolan from Titan Fab Northwest, you can find him on Instagram. He's becoming pretty well known for building full custom titanium exhaust systems for these cars. I think Sub 2 Speed House is selling them. That's an online retailer. So Nolan is building these custom systems for him now as well. I think I was the very first car that he ever did a full custom titanium kit on. So my buddy Kevin at the track, I'm sure a lot of you guys know Kevin Steckbauer, fast driver, really skilled driver. I hit him up and I was like, man, I'd love to do a full custom titanium exhaust. Do you know anybody that possibly would do that for me? So he told me to contact Nolan, so I contacted him. I said, hey, this is kind of what I'd like to do. What do you think? He was very excited. He was like, man, I've been wanting to do something like this for a long time. So we kind of partnered up and we worked together and got all the titanium, and he fabbed it up, and so it's a full custom titanium exhaust from the headers all the way back. The X is in the stock location as the stock X pipe that came off the car. I do know that Nolan was working on doing a forward X setup, and so I think that is also available. So you can do a forward X and you can tune for it, and I think it has been shown to produce some power. I'm not 100% sure, you would have to ask him. But the X is in the stock location, and then all there is after the X is 2 resonators. So there's 1 set of resonators, that's it. Otherwise it's a straight pipe all the way back. This thing sounds absolutely insane. Sounds absolutely insane. I love the way this thing sounds. It's extremely loud, but it sounds good. I mean, I'll be at the track with, you know, GT3 RSs, any car that you can possibly think of, and people will come up and say, man, this is one of the best sounding cars at the track. We love it. That thing sounds crazy. Such a crazy sound. So I'm excited to see what it sounds like with the sequential, just banging gears, and see if that changes the noise at all. But the sound of this car really kind of sets it apart. The S65 sounds so good, and for whatever reason, that titanium exhaust with just a set of resonators, it's loud and nasty, but it really sounds good. It's still a quality sound. So the exhaust is probably one of my favorite things that I've done on this car. The stock system that came off of here, I want to say was about 100 pounds. The custom titanium system that is on the car right now weighs about 20 pounds. So you're talking about 80 pounds of weight savings from going to the custom titanium exhaust versus the steel system that was on the car to begin with. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the trunk here. Actually, I want you to come this way because I want you to see this really trick trunk release that Kyle from Union Speed Lab did for me. So I've been locked out of this car so many times when the battery died that I had him do a little trunk release. So I just pull that, and now the trunk is open. The last time I got locked out of this car, I had to go find my neighbor. She's a 12-year-old girl, and I had her climb through the trunk and through the cage to be able to unlock the doors. So you don't want to get locked out of these cars, and I've probably been locked out about 5 times, and it's a terrible experience every single time. So take a look at this carbon fiber fill panel here. So I did this fill panel to remove the plastic storage piece that sits here that holds the spare tire kit that comes with the car. I want to say the weight savings when you remove that and you go to a carbon fiber sheet panel like this is probably about 7 pounds. Again, 7 pounds isn't a ton, but when you are trying to get to 3,000 pounds or below, everything is important. So if you come in closer here, this is a Volt Freaks 1200 amp hour battery. This Volt Freaks battery weighs 8 pounds. The stock battery that came out of the car is 60 pounds. So the stock battery is 60 pounds. This Volt Freaks battery with the bracket and everything is about 8 pounds. So that's 52 pounds saved by going to this lightweight battery. It's been in the car for about 3 years. I've never had an issue with it. The car will sit for 3 weeks at a time and it'll fire right up. So this Volt Freaks battery is awesome. I love it. No complaints whatsoever. I even have a kill switch or an on-off switch that I wired up into the front of the car so I can turn the battery on and off from that switch. So that helps if the car is going to be sitting for a long period of time. I can just turn the battery off, and then when I want to fire it up, I just hit that switch, battery turns on, car fires right up.